Wow, what a season. And this is coming from a guy who didn't really care for Andor season 1. It's not that it was good, and it wasn't that I didn't get it. It's just that it wasn't great writing. I mean, okay, yes, there was really good discussions and really great content in season 1. It was just, it took either way too long or it was really poorly set up. And the whole season was just confuzzled, kind of jumbly, a little bit of a mess. It didn't really have a focus, and it kind of made pretty much half of the season pretty freaking boring. And I even rewatched season 1 to prepare for season 2. I did it with much reluctance. But to be completely honest, season 1 is actually pretty good. It's a lot better than I remember. It's still slow as hell, but I actually enjoyed my time more the second time through than I did the first time. I think the problem with season 1 was having the arcs presented the way that they were in season 1. It was too much. Too much happened in the span of 1 year. Plus, it was just the whole season was chock full of convenient writing, and I hate convenient writing because it's just lazy writing. Things in season 1 happen just because they needed to happen. Tony Gilroy always kind of stops at like 97% and says, frick the last 3%. He just doesn't put the final effort into his projects to make them absolutely perfect. It's always almost there, and then it just, I don't know. For me, I just see it. I just see the lazy writing, and unfortunately, that's the same thing with season 2, but not quite so much, but we'll get there. Despite all the good, season 1 of Andor is still like a B plus grade for me. It went from a B- to a B+, especially after Andor season 2. That grade for season 1, it went up because I saw the whole vision and I said, okay, I give it to you. But let's talk about how much season 2 is better than season 1, because this is about season 2 after all. So much better. In fact, it's so good it even makes season 1 seem somehow justifiable. I mean, just being honest, if you asked me to watch Andor season 1, I might groan a little, but say fine. But if you asked me to watch Andor season 2, I'm already sat with the popcorn and the snacks and the drinks. Let's go. Let's go. What makes this season better than season 1, in my opinion, is the GHORMAN arcs. And I say arcs because, you know, it's 1 year per arc. Basically, it's just one giant GHORMAN arc, and it is just, it is so good. Having this entire season be mainly focused on this overarching story plot, this area of Star Wars, was the correct move. It made the season feel more contained and more intentional than season 1, and I personally love that. The writing improved, though there are some glaring issues still that remain, but we'll get to those. However, the writing did step up its game, and it's insanely sharp, and it has very little need to be nuanced. It just is nuanced. I know a lot of people said that Andor season 1 was nuanced, but it kind of felt like it was a little forced. This just exists, and it's beautiful. Honestly, seriously, where can I find the scripts for season 2? I want to study them. All versions, please. I want the shooting script, the actor's script, the director's script. I want all of the scripts, please. I lost my place because it's so good. Just like in season 1, however, the storylines felt a little jumbled here and there, but that might be a little bit more of an editing thing, honestly. This season is edited at times. They're choices, but then there are other times where I kind of feel like Tony Gilroy kind of just gets a little lazy, because the writing content itself is phenomenal, but honestly, all of these episodes could tighten up just a little bit, just a tiny little bit. Either that or add some more visual interest, i.e. change up the shots every once in a while, Tony. So is it a writing issue? Is it an editing issue? Is it a directing issue? I truly do not know. Regardless, season 2 is overall better than season 1, and it is also hella darker by a long shot. And I honestly appreciate how dark this show is. Frankly, the first season isn't really that dark for me. It kind of skirts on the line during the prison arc, but not really. I guess for Star Wars, but at the same time, I'm like, this is what you see? This makes sense. But season 2, it hit the ground running. And it really showed you the darkness and the evils of the reality, the situation that the entire galaxy was experiencing at that time because of the Empire. Sure, you may not like some of the things that Tony Gilroy and team has decided to tackle, but those things do happen in way less bad situations, and sometimes far worse. So personally, I don't really see a problem with the show getting that bold in its storytelling, because that's all it is for me. It's bold, it's brave. I just really wouldn't say that it's dark. Rather, season 2 of Andor, it's entirely unapologetic, and I kind of like that. I mean, take Skeleton Crew, for example. That show was primarily super made for kids, and adults can also enjoy it if they so decide to. But the primary target was kids. It was kids and families, I guess, not adults. Opposed to Andor, it's very clearly made for adults. And there's nothing wrong with that. And if you don't like it, that's fine. You could just watch the Skeleton Crew, I guess, or Ahsoka or something. There's things for you, and I think that Andor gets a really bad rap for being the Game of Thrones of Star Wars. Something that Star Wars has honestly been missing for a very long time. It's just kind of sad that Andor is over. I see what they were trying to do. I think they were trying to go for 5 seasons, 5 years, but that would have been a lot. But I'm just kind of sad because we're not going to get like a season 3 of Andor, because it seemed, I mean, kind of. It's Rogue One. But if Disney is to learn the correct lessons here, could you imagine if Star Wars produced content, other content that had this tone for their adult fan base? I mean, honestly, what could the Acolyte or even Ahsoka looked like if it was allowed to be this bold, this dark, this brave? Personally, I'm a lightsaber guy, so if we were to do that, if that were to happen, I'd eat that shit right up. I'd eat it for breakfast, I'd eat it for lunch, I'd eat it for the in-between meals. And yes, we're gonna eat it for dinner and dessert as well. Oh, Disney, if you were just to do Andor for the other shows, not all of the other shows, not all of them, just some of them. And I don't want the other shows to be dragged out anymore. It's unnecessary, it's unexcused. Andor gets a pass because it's content. It's actually brilliant, and there's really nothing that you can do about it now, so you can either enjoy it or complain about it, and I don't really want to complain about it. I choose to be happy, so I'm gonna enjoy it. But honestly, enough is enough, Disney. No more long-ass dragged out content, because it's not necessary. Nevertheless, I think season 2 should be Disney Star Wars wake-up call on what people want and what people consider quality and what they want to see out of Star Wars. War and a little bit of politics within the world of Star Wars. Because I thought the war of politics in Andor was just, it was peak. It was beautifully handled. It's so good. Additionally, season 2 is so stunningly gorgeous from a visual perspective. My God, the amount of money spent on this show is ridiculous. From the costuming to the set, so from the costuming to the set design to the cinematography and the cornucopia of props. Oh my goodness, so many Star Wars props, and I'm a prop guy. I love to see them little gadgets and the spy stuff. I love me a well-made physical prop and well-made physical set that the actors can actually be in and interact with and hold and do all of the things, and Andor did all of that. The Fallout show had working Pip-Boys for their actors that the actors can use in camera, thus saving on VFX a little bit, and that's incredible. In season 2 of Andor, it brings the pops. It brings the props. Like I said, there's so many gadgets from both the Rebels and the Empire. It was endless. I loved it. And the sound effects with the gadgets and everything, it's so good. The sound mix is also phenomenal. I don't have a section for the sound, but like the music, the sound mixing, the audio is also great. But on that front, Andor is certainly the best looking Star Wars show I've ever seen. And there are some moments where I'm like, oh, I see where the money might have run out here. But overall, the show looks like it was intentionally cared for, and that's what I look for out of my media content. Things that the directors actually cared to look good, and that was Andor. Andor is a remarkable thing of beauty, honestly. The cinematography, it kind of does get repetitive, however, but it does look good. I would have liked it if there were some other shots, like I said, but it's fine. The content is so good, everything else is kind of excusable. And that content are the arcs. Don't be deceived by that first arc, however, because a lot of people watched that first arc and didn't like it. I kind of did like it at first. In retrospect, I don't really like it. I flip-flopped. A lot of people flip-flopped as well. I, in retrospect, didn't really like it because it wasn't necessary. That first arc just didn't necessarily need to happen. But it's fine because it happened. And in retrospect, I guess it does have a point. But it felt a little forced to me, but it's fine. The season can easily start with episode 4, but it's okay. Let Tony have his cake and eat it too. It's fine. We're all eating his cake too. Oh, no. No, I can't say that. I think one of the things I didn't like about that first arc is that just at the very end of that first arc, something happens. It's a very convenient thing happens. And I was just like, Andor, if that convenient thing hadn't happened, what was your plan? What was your plan, Andor? You could have known about that space bag. What was your plan, Cassian? Because it truly makes absolutely no sense. It doesn't. There's no way. It's just the absolute nonsensical thing. And if you've seen the season, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, then you will. Thankfully, that is the roughest the show will ever get. It only gradually gets better from then on. And the second arc had a lot of good stuff, and it actually made me go, wait, hold up. Is Andor actually good? And the answer was yes. And then the third arc is likely some of the best television I've ever seen. And that is kind of not. Okay, I'm only talking about the third arc. I'm not talking about the final arc. A lot of people are like, Andor is the best television in the history of the planet. It's not. It is one of the best. It is very much up there, and I would give it probably a 10 out of 10 if it weren't for Tony Gilroy, and we'll talk about that later. But this third arc, I know the arcs are basically like mini movies, but this arc is 10 out of 10. Absolute cinema. I mean, hell, episode 8 alone, who are you? That, to me, is the penultimate episode of Andor, and it should be recognized at the awards. I hope that is submitted as one of the best episodes of television for 2025. It truly is everything that Andor has been building up to. And a lot of people said it was a finale, but I think it was that. I think we're all building up to that moment, that episode, and the epilogue only solidifies and reinforces it and launches us into Star Wars proper. And I think it's just gorgeous. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. It's amazing. And it absolutely makes all of the drag worth it. And you just wait. You keep on paying attention, because it's easy to get distracted if you have ADHD like me, but you keep on paying attention. You keep trudging along, and you make it to that season 2, episode 8, because oh my God, the payoff is so satisfying. In modern times when payoffs are not that great, it is wonderful not only to have a good payoff, but a perfect payoff. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little worried that the rest of the season wasn't gonna be good as episode 8, and I was a tad bit scared we were getting a Book of Boba Fett Mandalorian finale treatment when I noticed that Cassian wasn't even in episode 10 at all. He is nowhere to be found. However, that wasn't the case. It was just a pretty darn good piece of television. Episode 10 is nearly perfect, but it's still probably one of my favorite episodes ever of TV, because I pointed at my TV and I audibly said, that's how you do side characters correctly. And I thought about Echo. For episode 12, I was like, are we really just gonna go from conversation to conversation for the final episode? And yes, yes, we are. But those conversations are actually very interesting. And this episode honestly kind of provided sort of a nice calm down after a intense ride. All of the intensity that just happened. And then this episode kind of, it's a little bit of a soft landing, but it's fine because we needed that soft landing. Because again, you're so stressed because everything is so intense that I would say that this finale is quite poetic. Isn't that nice? I can actually say that a show and its ending is poetic. And once you see the characters, once you see these characters' fates, you will agree with me that the writing for these characters and for the show is nothing other than poetic. Interestingly, the final arc felt incredibly Star Wars. Probably the most Star Wars Andor has ever and will ever be, and I thought it was great. I think it was deserved because it, it didn't really feel like Star Wars before because we weren't. We were in a dark era of no hope. Yeah, do you see it now? Andor season 1 and even all of Andor season 2 is the era of no hope. That's why it's so dark and so bleak. So when you get to the final arc, where it starts to feel a little bit more like Star Wars, because that hope has been instilled finally, and that is, Star Wars. It's A New Hope. Oh my God, Tony Gilroy finally adding K2SO for that final arc. My favorite droid played my least favorite person. That was the key. And the fact that this perfectly aligns with Rogue One, and I haven't watched Rogue One after watching Andor. I'm gonna go rewatch all of the Star Wars stuff with Mike because he's never seen it, so we're gonna go tackle that. But I think how you should introduce someone to Star Wars is the original trilogy, the prequels, Andor, Rogue One. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, why don't you just start with 1, then Andor? Because I think without knowing the end, you won't be able to really appreciate Andor. I don't think you can start with Andor because you're gonna jump into this, be like, this is Star Wars? This is not good. You need to understand that hope exists and that this is the era of no hope. You need to watch everything else, and then you need to see this aftermath of Andor and be like, wow, the effect, the severity that the Empire had on the galaxy. You hear it all the time and you think you see it in Star Wars, but you really do see it in Andor, and that for being brave and bold. Unfortunately, however, we now got to talk about the very few issues that Andor Season 2 has. Just like Andor Season 1, Season 2 has a lot. Well, okay, it doesn't have nearly as much convenient writing throughout its season as Season 1 does, but it does have some convenient writing. It's almost excused because the rest of the season is just so good. The content is just amazing, and again, the writing in retrospect is actually pretty fantastic.
Say that again?
But it's honestly like, Tony Gilroy, you are so close. You are so close. What happened? And I don't mean to be mean, but calling a spade, Tony Gilroy is just lazy. Or he just didn't think about it. I'll give him that much margin for error. Just a little bit, Tony. Yes, Tony Gilroy is a phenomenal storyteller, but he's incredibly lazy in his follow through. At least his finish follow through. It's like a runner at a race, and instead of hitting that finish line with as much speed as possible to finish strong with the best time as possible, the runner slows down for a softer finish, and that's Tony Gilroy throughout both Andor seasons 1 and season 2. He stops giving effort about 97, 98, maybe even 99% and says, let the last percentages jump. No, Tony, no! So many things happen conveniently, or because the script requires them to happen, or because of creative shock value. But these things are either not set up well or aren't set up at all because, we're too busy panning across the floor looking at someone's back for 13 seconds. Again, is cinema, but pacing is important as well. It's frustrating because the writing is so good, but it just doesn't put the effort to actually being perfect, in my opinion. So really, honestly, the only two gripes I have with the show is the pacing, though better, is still off. These episodes are still a tad long, but that might be more of an editing thing than a directing or even a writing thing. And second, the convenient writing that is prevalent throughout the show. Literally only two gripes, I believe, and that's coming from me. But also coming from me is the truth that because of this pacing, because the pacing is off and that the drag exists, unfortunately, people won't care to sit through this show just to get to the great parts. Hard facts. Not many people care. It's not really a generally wide audience, and that's fine. But the damage that Disney has done to Star Wars prior to Andor was enough to deter people from even trying Andor out, because some people are just like, I just don't even care anymore. Years ago, well before, like shortly after Rogue One, I guarantee you more people would have accepted it. This show is just for the hardcore fans, and unfortunately, the hardcore fans are not the main fan. They're not the ones that are gonna make the most money. Let's be real. But I'm evidently a hardcore fan. I love this season. I don't care. I will watch even season 1 because of it. So there you go. I'm fine. But there is a slight marketing problem, but I think that's just damage that's been previously done. I don't think it's anything regarding Andor. Now let's talk about the man behind Andor, Tony Gilroy. It truly seems as though everyone has their own opinion on what Star Wars should be, from the fans to the people behind Star Wars. Apparently, according to insiders, people inside Lucasfilm hate Andor. Joanna Robinson from the House of R podcast, and she has a lot of inside sources, and she just dropped this juicy information on the latest podcast about the Andor finale. According to her sources, people at Lucasfilm, which allegedly includes Dave Filoni, do not like Andor because it doesn't fit with Dave Filoni's vision of what Star Wars should be. Now, I'm not here to tell you which man is right or which man is better. I think they're both children after hearing this, and honestly, I kind of see it. It kind of does make sense. Listen to this. Apparently, Dave Filoni has been gatekeeping Star Wars, and turning down great pitches that would have been great for Star Wars. And instead, he approved the Acolyte. Even the way he talks about the Acolyte and everything, just, I don't know, it just makes me lose a little bit of faith in Dave Filoni. Not gonna lie. Honestly, I think it's a double-hander, considering the fact that the only reason Andor got approved was because they knew each other. So Kathy was going to do everything in her power to give her friend what he wanted. Someone please get those to a room. You can read the rest of the article. I have it linked in the description below. I just wanted to point out that Kathleen Kennedy does love Andor, and Dave Filoni does love the Acolyte, and nobody can apparently be happy. Now, in Tony Gilroy's case, I don't think the man actually really likes Star Wars, and that's perfectly fine. The franchise is so big, it has so many factions, that it doesn't always need to be one thing all of the time. Again, what could have the Acolyte and Ahsoka been if only it had put Andor levels of quality in the writing and in the execution? It's just crazy because Tony Gilroy has previously said that he hates lightsabers, Jedi, the Sith, the Force. So pretty much anything and everything that it makes up Star Wars originally. But as he so brilliantly displayed, Star Wars isn't just the Force, isn't just lightsabers, isn't just Jedi and Sith all the time. Why? Because there's so much going on and there's so much to say, and Tony Gilroy was one of the ones to finally be able to say it. He was not afraid, he was brave, and he was bold, and I love it. Gilroy isn't excused completely though. He and his team are another group of people who believe that their work are the Bible of their franchises. And honestly, if it weren't for Tony Gilroy's clearly pompous attitude when it comes to Star Wars and Andor, I'd be more inclined to give Andor season 2 that 10 out of 10. But you don't act like a sore winner before you've won, Gilroy, because otherwise it's just annoying. You're just annoying. But I love your work, so I guess it's fine. The Bourne franchise, anyone? But what I'm referring to specifically is this comment about Mon Mothma's spectacular speech in episode 9. Tony Gilroy told Weekly Entertainment, "We are hijacking canon. In canon, she's rescued by Gold Squadron and the speech that they gave in the cartoon, which was a canonical show." And Dan Gilroy's like, "Do we have to stick to this effing speech?" It doesn't stop there. They say, "In a really sneaky way, we're minimizing what they did in Star Wars Rebels, but we're keeping it consistent. We're just saying you don't really know the whole story of what happened." And I see what he's saying. Tony, I see what he's saying, but I fully disagree. It's fully okay to have both speeches, which they've so clearly done here. Both speeches exist in canon, but what is baffling to me is a blatant disrespect towards other Star Wars projects that are insanely highly regarded. First, calling the Rebels a cartoon is insanity. It's an animated Star Wars series, you dumb Then there's the issue of saying it was a canonical show. Bitch, it's still canonical. It's still canon. All you did was just elevate not just season 1 of Andor, but you elevated not just Star Wars Rebels, but the entirety of Star Wars, bro. Dude, you did the greatest thing for Star Wars in ways that you didn't even realize because your hubris is just so huge, Caroline. It's huge. And because of your hubris, Tony, is why I cannot give you that lightning in a bottle status, that 10 out of 10. I can't say that Andor is the best thing, the best Star Wars show ever, but I'm not gonna give you that perfect rating just because you're annoying. I wanted to give you my final rating and my final thoughts so you don't have to wait any longer. Personally, I thought Andor season 2 would be just right. I wasn't excited for this at all, and to my surprise, this season is one of the best seasons of television I've ever seen, and even I can admit that. Still, I feel the writing was just almost there, basically to the point where I would give Gilroy and crew that 10, but again, like I said before, I can't do it. I won't do it. So honestly, here's where I land. 9.7 out of 10. I have very little to complain about, only that it's freaking long. But again, the drag is absolutely worth it. So it's not that much of a complaint for me. I'm just trying to think of it objectively, but I think this is a far more than fair rating for Andor season 2, in my opinion. I mean, again, that first arc wasn't that great. See, the second arc, it was a slow build, but it was great. Also really great. But that is it. That is my review, a giant ass review for Andor season 2. What did you think of both my review and this season? Let me know in the comments below. My sushi media links are in the description below, and I will see you next time. You've just been Montified.